Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into something that, well, it touches almost every part of your digital life, but it often works, kind of in the shadows. Just think about it for a second.
Hmm.
Imagine this sort of digital colonizer, an algorithm that feels like it knows you, maybe even before you know yourself sometimes.
Hmm.
It's meticulously shaping the news you stumble upon, the online groups you end up joining, maybe even the very idea of truth you perceive.
Hmm. It's this pervasive presence, isn't it? But the question is, how deep does that influence actually run? Especially when you look at regions, say, across Africa, which are often quite far, geographically and culturally, from the headquarters of these big tech giants.
Exactly. And that really hits the nail on the head for our deep dive today.
Yeah, we're looking at what is essentially a fundamental collision, a really intense struggle that's playing out right now across the continent.
So on one side,
On one side, you've got these massive global digital players, titans like Meta,
Hmm.
the company behind Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp.
right, the behemoth.
Absolutely. And they're wielding just immense power through things like AI-driven news feeds, facial recognition technology, sophisticated behavioral targeting. Their reach is just unparalleled.
Hard to even fathom
It
sometimes.
really is. But then on the other side, we're seeing this fascinating rise of vibrant local civic tech organizations. Real sort of rebels, you could say.
Like BudgIT in Nigeria.
Exactly. BudgIT in Nigeria, Pollicy in Uganda. These are great examples. And these groups, they're also using data, they're using technology, but their aim is profoundly different.
How so?
Well, it's all about empowering citizens, trying to foster transparency, building accountability literally from the ground up.
Okay, so that sets up the core question we really need to wrestle with in this deep dive, and it feels crucial.
It is.
Is this whole dynamic just, another version of digital colonization,
Mm.
where these big Western-centric platforms, maybe unintentionally, maybe not, end up dictating African narratives, African realities?
And often extracting huge amounts of data, huge amounts of value, without necessarily giving an equitable return back to the source communities.
Right. Is it that?
Mm.
Or is it something more positive? Could it be a critical, even productive collision? Something that might actually spark a genuine civic reimagination?
A new model, perhaps, for how communities can engage, how they can thrive, how they can even assert their own digital sovereignty in this new landscape.
That's the hope, I suppose. So our mission today is to really dive deep. We need to get into the backgrounds, the motivations, the real-world impact of the key players here on both sides of this divide.
And explore the radically different philosophies when it comes to code, to community, to what technology is actually for.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this, let's start by putting a human face on that civic tech movement. Let's meet the people behind it.
Good idea.
We can begin with Oluseun Onigbinde. He's the co-founder of BudgIT. And his journey, honestly, it's quite remarkable. It gives you a powerful insight into where this kind of tech rebellion comes from.
Tell us about him.
Okay, so he was born in Sagabo, Nigeria back in 1985. Grew up in Masifa, Ogbomoso. And from early on, he was clearly an academic powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Get this. He achieved an incredible 9 distinctions on his WAEC. That's the West African Examinations Council exam. Hugely competitive regional school leaving certificate. This was in 2001 at Loyola College in Ibadan.
Wow, 9 distinctions. That's seriously impressive. That's a high bar.
Absolutely. So after that, he went on to study engineering at the University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. But importantly, his vision wasn't just limited to the technical side of things.
Right, it wasn't just about the engineering itself.
No. He also honed his civic leadership skills, his vision for social change at Stanford University's executive program in social entrepreneurship.
Stanford. Okay, so that blend of engineering pragmatism and sort of social idealism. That makes sense.
Exactly. It feels like that blend really defines him and his work.
And what's particularly striking, I think, about Oluseun's story is how his early professional experiences directly fed into that civic vision later on.
Like his time at First Bank.
Yeah, precisely. His strategic thinking while he was working at First Bank, it seems to have ignited this powerful idea. He was at a hackathon at CCHUB, that's the Co-Creation Hub, a major Nigerian innovation center. This was back in 2011.
Okay.
And he saw this potential. He looked at these government budgets. You know how dense and complex they are? Almost impossible for the average person to understand.
Totally opaque. Yeah.
Right. And he thought, what if we could transform them? translate them into clear visual formats that any citizen could understand.
So not just making data look pretty, but making it genuinely accessible, actionable.
Exactly. It was about accessibility and actionability. And that initial seed of an idea, it blossomed very quickly into BudgIT, which he then co-founded with Joseph Agunbia.
And his whole approach, his driving ethos, it doesn't seem to be about building apps from some ivory tower, right?
Not at all. He talks about being proximate to his communities. He's not detached. He invests personally in things like scholarships, local infrastructure projects, and the places he knows.
So he's a disruptor, definitely, but one who seems really anchored in these deep civic roots.
Yeah.
Committed to democratizing information.
That's a great way to put it. Anchored.
You can absolutely see that commitment to being on the ground, being proximate, and everything BudgIT does. I mean, the reach is incredible.
What are the numbers?
He's managed to bring infographics, accessible budget data, to over 20 million citizens. Think about that, 20 million people getting information they likely wouldn't have had otherwise.
That's a powerful counter-narrative right there, isn't it? Especially compared to the often top-down, sometimes opaque information flow from global platforms.
Absolutely. Okay, now let's pivot. Let's talk about another equally compelling visionary in this space. Neema Iyer, the founder of Pollicy in Uganda.
Ah, yes, Neema. Her background is fascinating, too.
It really is. Just as rich as Oluseun's, but with this really unique blend of skills that makes her approach stand out. She's a technologist, yes, but also an artist and a public health expert.
Quite a combination.
Isn't it? Raised in Nigeria with Tanzanian Indian heritage, she got her master's in public health, focusing on epidemiology and statistics from Emory University in the U.S. Then she moved to Uganda in 2013.
And Neema's story, for me, is just this brilliant example of interdisciplinary thinking truly in action. She founded Pollicy, and the whole idea was to innovatively blend data, design, and technology.
To do what exactly?
To completely reimagine civic engagement. What's truly distinctive about her style, I'd almost describe her as a creative reckoner.
A creative reckoner. I like that.
Yeah. Because she masterfully blends her artistic background with her skills in epidemiology, understanding patterns, data, public health issues, to craft these very specific feminist African data tools.
Feminist and African data tools. What does that look like in practice?
Well, they're always grounded in personal design and lived experience. You see it so vividly across Pollicy's work. They do cutting-edge research, design programs, but also things like engaging feminist data games.
Games.
Yes, and vital digital safety interventions, particularly for women. She even personally illustrated a game supported by Mozilla called Choose Your Own Fake News.
Wow. So taking these complex, sometimes abstract issues like fake news or digital safety and making them accessible, even playful.
Exactly. Playful, but powerful. Tools for empowerment, always with a keen eye on gender dynamics and the specific local contexts. It's not just generic tech solutions.
That local context seems key for both of them.
Absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
And Neema, she transitioned from being the executive director to a board member in 2023, which also speaks to building sustainable organizations, ensuring that foundational vision continues to have impact.
Right, planning for the future. Okay, so we have these two incredible local visionaries. Now let's really unpack this collusion course you mentioned earlier. Because it feels like more than just competition. It's a clash of philosophies, maybe even worldviews.
I think that's right. It's a defining struggle, really, for our digital age, playing out very visibly in Africa.
So on one side, you have Meta, this AI-powered, data-hungry, algorithmic behemoth.
Constantly optimizing,
silently influencing our news feeds, our relationships, our behavior across entire continents. Their systems, let's be honest, they're designed primarily for engagement, for advertising revenue.
That's the business model.
Right. And they often operate as a kind of black box. We don't fully see how they work. And their impact on things like local governance, cultural narratives, even mental health. It's proving to be profoundly complex and sometimes quite damaging.
Mm-hmm. And when we use that term digital colonization, it's provocative, but what are we really pointing to?
Well, I think it's not just about influence, is it? It's pointing to a system where vast amounts of local data generated in Africa by Africans are extracted, processed, monetized by foreign entities.
Often with very limited direct benefit flowing back to the communities where that data originated.
Exactly. It's about how these external platforms end up dictating the rules of digital engagement, how they shape public discourse, how they influence local economies, sometimes in ways that can overshadow or even undermine local agency, local infrastructure, local priorities.
That's precisely the core of the tension. And it raises this truly critical question, doesn't it? When algorithms, primarily curated by a global company headquartered thousands of miles away, dictate what billions of people see,
Yeah.
are they actually amplifying democracy? Are they giving people more genuine agency, better information? Or are they subtly, maybe inadvertently, amplifying myths,
Oh,
misinformation,
just commercial interests.
or simply commercial interests? And in doing so, potentially fragmenting societies, eroding trust, making constructive public debate harder.
It's a huge question. And Oluseun Onigbinde, you mentioned, has a counterpoint to this.
He does. He puts it very simply and powerfully. He says, we take complexity and make trustable visuals, not to manipulate, but to inform.
Not to manipulate, but to inform. That highlights a massive difference right there.
A fundamental difference in design philosophy, in intent. One approach, Meta's, is largely optimized for engagement, often through highly personalized, emotionally resonant feeds, which sounds good, but
But can easily become echo chambers.
exactly, echo chambers or even vectors for potent misinformation or disinformation that spreads rapidly because it triggers strong emotions.
Whereas the other approach, BudgITs or policies.
It's about clarity, it's about contextual accuracy, it's about enabling informed, active participation by citizens. Think about something like content moderation policies.
Okay.
They're typically developed in California, right, by teams perhaps unfamiliar with the nuances of hundreds of local dialects across Africa, specific cultural contexts, complex political sensitivities.
Yeah, how could they possibly keep up?
It's incredibly difficult, and the result can be, on one hand, the accidental suppression of legitimate local voices, local dissent, local organizing, or conversely, the unchecked spread of genuinely harmful content, hate speech, incitement that just falls outside their maybe too generic moderation criteria.
And that has real-world consequences for communities on the ground. It's not just online chatter.
Absolutely not. It translates into real-world harm, real-world divisions.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Because we can talk about the problems, but these local civic tech organizations, they are actually making a tangible difference, a profound difference on the ground.
They really are.
Let's take BudgIT's TRACA program. You mentioned BudgIT earlier. TRACA was launched back in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
It now operates in, I think, 20 Nigerian states.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does is it literally shows citizens where public projects should be happening. Things like roads, schools, health clinics projects funded by public money.
So it tracks the budget allocations.
Exactly. It tracks the budgets, but crucially, it also tracks the reality on the ground, or sometimes the lack of reality. It shows where projects aren't happening, despite being funded.
Ah, the accountability piece.
Precisely. Citizens can use the platform, or even just SMS, to upload photos, real-time evidence. Here's the site where the clinic was supposed to be built, it's still an empty field.
Yep.
Or, here's the school roof that collapsed 6 months ago, still not fixed.
Undeniable proof.
Undeniable. And BudgIT then helps relay this information, sometimes offline, directly to the relevant authorities. They amplify these citizen reports. And the result? Demonstrable direct impact on local infrastructure.
You can imagine the empowerment that comes from that.
Totally. Imagine your community seeing the local school finally getting repaired, not because of some vague promise from a distant politician, but because your neighbor, or maybe even you, uploaded a photo that gained traction through TRACA. That forced the issue, held power accountable.
That's shifting agency right back to the community level. It's powerful stuff.
It really is. And Policy's work, while different, feels equally impactful in its own way, particularly around building human capacity.
Yeah, their data literacy initiatives are key. They run programs like Data Fest, that's been going since 2019, data clubs, data ladies.
Data ladies.
Yes, specifically focused on empowering women with data skills. Across all these programs, they've trained literally thousands of individuals in data literacy.
Thousands. Wow.
Through over 100 distinct projects, more than 200 events. It's a sustained effort. And this isn't just about teaching people how to read charts and graphs.
No, it's deeper than that.
Much deeper. It's about empowering people to critically analyze the information deluge they face every day, to understand what data actually means for their lives, for their communities, and crucially, how to use data themselves as a tool for advocacy, for demanding change, for telling their own stories.
So they're not just passive consumers of information anymore.
Exactly. That's what's so fascinating. They're not just providing a tech service. They're actively cultivating a new generation of digitally literate citizens, people who can engage critically with whatever information they encounter online, whether it's coming from Meta's algorithm or their own local government's website.
Which directly counters that passive consumption model that, let's face it, many global platforms tend to foster, right? Keep scrolling, keep reacting.
Precisely. Policy is fostering active, critical engagement.
Okay, let's really bring this home. Let's think about the moral stakes, the civic stakes here, maybe through some concrete examples or anecdotes, because the contrast is so stark.
Yeah, the contrast is powerful.
So imagine the impact of, say, a viral social media meme. Maybe it's slickly produced, maybe it uses deepfake technology, and it labels a political opponent or maybe an entire ethnic group as enemies of the people.
That's something highly inflammatory.
Highly inflammatory. And it gets curated, amplified, pushed out by a global algorithm that has zero understanding of the local context, the history of conflict, the potential for real-world violence. No ethical oversight tailored to that specific situation.
Just optimized for engagement, for shares, for reactions.
Right. And that can and does incite actual violence, actual harm. Now, contrast that scenario with the story we just talked about.
The school in rural Nigeria.
Exactly. A school getting fixed, not because of some top-down decree or a viral outrage campaign driven by opaque forces, but because ordinary citizens use a simple tool like Traka to capture reality, share photos, share evidence.
And that forced local authorities to act.
It created tangible, positive change.
Yeah.
The locus of power, the agency. It shifts dramatically in those two scenarios, doesn't it?
Completely. And that's where the human element, the ethical design that folks like Oluseun and Neema prioritize, truly shines.
Can you give another example, maybe from Pollicy's work?
Sure. Think about a young woman, maybe in Kampala, trying to navigate the digital world. And she's facing online harassment, digital abuse, sadly, an incredibly common challenge, often amplified by platform designs that don't prioritize safety adequately.
Like a huge problem.
Huge. Now, Pollicy empowers her, not through some distant, faceless content moderation policy written in California that might or might not understand or apply to her specific cultural context or the nuances of the abuse she's facing.
So how do they help?
They offer something like their digital safety game. It sounds whimsical, safety, right? But it's a powerful tool. Through this game, designed with her context in mind, she can find safety tips, learn coping mechanisms, understand her digital rights, maybe even connect with support networks, find solidarity, all delivered in a way that's culturally resonant, accessible, maybe even a bit fun, despite the serious topic.
So it's human-centered, context-aware.
Exactly. It's not just about the technology itself. It's about providing human-centered, contextually aware solutions to very real, very human problems. It's about fostering resilience, digital citizenship from the ground up.
Which brings us right back to that core tension, doesn't it? Can this human scale, this ethical grounding, this deep connection to community that we see in civic tech, can it genuinely stand against the silent, pervasive, almost gravitational power of these global, often faceless digital platforms like Meta?
It's the David and Goliath question in a digital African context.
It really is.
Yeah.
And this isn't just some theoretical debate for academics sitting in universities. This is an urgent, lived reality. It's often gendered, as the digital abuse example shows. It's profoundly civic. It's a battle playing out every single day in communities across Africa.
And it's about fundamental questions. Who gets to control the narrative? Who benefits from the immense value of African data? And ultimately, whose reality, whose future is being shaped by these powerful tools?
And these local civic tech organizations, let's be clear, they face enormous challenges.
Immense challenges. Securing sustainable funding in a landscape totally dominated by global tech investment is a huge one. Scaling their impact, reaching more people without losing that crucial hyper-local responsiveness, that connection to the ground, navigating complex, sometimes shifting regulatory environments.
It's a constant struggle.
A constant struggle, and yet they persist. They keep innovating, keep building, keep offering this crucial alternative vision.
Which leads us towards wrapping up, perhaps. What's the key takeaway here?
Well, I think what's fascinating is that while algorithms, especially those designed by global giants, undeniably have this immense potential to, yes, colonize our digital lives, to dictate our preferences, shape our perceptions, even influence our political leanings, ultimately it's still humans who craft meaning. Humans design the code. Humans decide its purpose. And the code being developed by organizations like BudgIT and Pollicy, it feels fundamentally different.
How so? Different in its DNA?
Almost, yeah. Their code aims to be ethical by design. It prioritizes transparency, citizen empowerment, over simply maximizing engagement metrics or ad clicks. It's inherently civic-minded. It's built specifically to solve real-world community problems identified by those communities.
Not just solutions looking for a problem.
Exactly. And perhaps most importantly, it feels profoundly African. In its intent, in its application, and its impact, it's built from the ground up, often by Africans for Africans, to address local needs, foster local empowerment. It offers a vision of digital development that is, or at least strives to be, truly self-determined.
It really does make you think, doesn't it? As Meta continues to refine its AI, as these global algorithms become ever more sophisticated, ever more pervasive, constantly optimizing for, well, for whatever their goals are.
Engagement, retention, revenue.
Right. Meanwhile, African civic tech, often working on the margins, sometimes with limited resources, continues to light things up. It offers this alternative path, this different vision.
A challenge.
A challenge, exactly. It challenges all of us, especially those living and working on the continent, but really everyone, to consider. Will your digital feed continue to change your city? Will it subtly shape your understanding of your own community, your own politics, through these external narratives, these externally optimized flows of information?
Is the reverse possible?
Or will your city, will your community ultimately change your feed? As more citizens become empowered, become digitally literate, as they leverage these ethical, locally designed tools like Tracka, like Pollicy's initiatives.
To demand transparency, demand accountability, share their own stories, build their own platforms.
Can they turn the digital sphere into a powerful instrument for tangible, self-determined progress? Can the city change the feed? That feels like the hopeful, provocative question to leave people with.
It's a future worth striving for, certainly.
Absolutely. So the message seems clear. Stay vigilant. Stay informed about the forces shaping your digital world. And remember to actively participate, engage critically, and support initiatives that aim to let code be your ally.
Not your colonizer.
Exactly. Not your colonizer. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
You've been listening to Empire and Legacy, African Business Chronicles. Our hosts are Zuri Mwangi and Kwame Adeyemi. Empire and Legacy is essential listening for business professionals and leaders. Be sure to subscribe to be the first to know when new episodes are released. Until next time, if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow us on LinkedIn, WhatsApp, X, Instagram, and YouTube. All links are in the show notes. We're back each week sharing more stories about the exciting business rivalries shaping the future of business across Africa.